Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of TokYo-Yo. My name is T. Let's get right into the review today, shall we? So this is going to be the final entry in the Benchmark 2016 series. I know at the very beginning of this series I said there was only going to be the W, O, and V shapes, but actually my mother was very kind and sent me the H shape from the US since I couldn't get it in Japan. So today is going to be the final episode in the Benchmark series. And of course after that we'll have a time on to decide who I think is the best. Is this yo-yo an underwhelming achievement, or is this yo-yo going to take you on a wild adventure? Okay, so let's talk about the Benchmark H shape. Clearly, it's an H. Very nice, heavy rims here. You see like a very small area in the center, big, strong H rims here. Give it a lot of rim weight. The cup is pretty similar to other Benchmark yo-yos. You see the outer ring here. Then there's some small cuts inside here, then space for the side effect, where I've got the ultralights in the blue color. I really like the way the blue and gold go together. I've explained in other reviews that I really liked heavier side effects, but I actually have changed my mind a little bit, and I'll explain more later. The material is the Pyramat from One Drop, which is in gold in this case, and this yo-yo just looks fantastic, as you can see. The feel is a very, very snuggly, very comfortable H. I personally feel like the H is the most comfortable of all shapes, even more than the O, which is very rounded, but the H just fits your finger so nicely. I just love the way a good H feels. And the look is quite classy. I do have a couple of other gold yo-yos, namely the Aviator 2, but something about One Drop's gold is just so nice. And I've tried a few different side effects in here, and I found that just the way the gold and the blue work together is simply gorgeous, so I haven't been able to change it since. Again, not much to say in the way of history for the Benchmark. I explained all of the history of the Benchmark series in my first Benchmark review, so if you'd like to know more about that, go check out my review of the Benchmark W. But basically, the only history I have with this yo-yo is that I couldn't get one. At the time of recording the other Benchmark series, I couldn't find it anywhere in any Japanese stores. But my mother, who watches my reviews, thanks again, Mom, found it at Yo-Yo Expert, and so she sent it to me, and that's why we've got one today. The string I've got in the Benchmark H today is Zipline Strings Highlighter, which is one of Sam Hicks' player pack strings from Zipline. Extremely bright, extremely beautiful, and plays on a yo-yo with flow groove just so wonderfully. As far as playability for the Benchmark H, this Benchmark probably has the longest spin time of all the Benchmark series. It's also incredibly stable. Now, a lot of that is going to come from the rim weight here. It's probably got the most rim weight, or at least the closest rim weight to the W shape. The O and the V are a little bit more even the way that the weight is distributed, but H shapes generally have a lot more rim weight, and that's why they're so popular. I'll get into why I use ultralights. In my other Benchmark reviews, I mentioned that I liked heavier side effects. With this, my mind was actually changed, and the reason why is because when you have a yo-yo with a lot of rim weight, and then you put a side effect that's a little heavier into the yo-yo, I feel like that's going to give the yo-yo more center weight. The reason that yo-yos have a lot of rim weight is because rim weight gives you stability and spin time. So putting ultralights in the center, I think, at least in theory for me, lets the weight be more concentrated on the rims, kind of pushes that weight out more, and I feel like with a lighter center, the Benchmark H plays fantastically. I've actually put the Diffio bearing inside of this one, so it just plays beautifully with the lighter side effects and with the centering bearing. With ultralights, this thing moves really fast. I love how nimble this is. I'm not used to the Benchmark series being this maneuverable. This H feels fantastic on the lighter end of things. I have used the other yo-yos since then with lighter side effects, and I don't think they take as much advantage as the H does. I feel like this thing becomes an absolute powerhouse with a lighter side effect. It moves crazy fast with ultralights. Grinds on the Benchmark H are actually pretty good. I mentioned in the Benchmark O review that they can be a little bit hard because the shape, the V has some very nice grinds as well as the W, but something about the H, the grinds just fit very nicely right in here. It just snuggles your finger right in there. As long as you can get a thinner part of your finger in and you're not creating too much friction with the yo-yo, you're gonna get really, really nice grinds. And it doesn't tend to tilt too much because the shape just gets your fingers centered very properly. But the H just feels really serious, but it also strikes a nice balance with being comfortable and fun too. I feel like it's a really nice split of the other shapes. I can see why people rave about it so much. This thing really plays well. It's impressed me from the first. But beyond that, like I said, it just performs. It moves on the string well. Of course it spins for a long time. Of course it's stable. Probably the most stable of all of the Benchmark series that I've played with. And it just does pretty much everything you need it to do. Obviously, finger spins are going to be a little bit more difficult. You can't really get your thumb in there for thumb grinds, but just about anything else you can think of, it really plays well with whips and slacks. I've really been enjoying all my time with the Benchmark H for sure. As I mentioned before, I love the H shape. I love this big rim up here. I just think it's super comfortable. I love H shapes in general. The ultralight side effects really make this thing go fast. They push the weight out to the rims, which just makes it perform better. It feels really nice with ultralights. It's quite comfortable, as I mentioned. The H shape just snuggles your fingers right in there, super nice. And as I mentioned, I think in the other reviews, I just love side effects. I think it's super cool that when I first got this thing, it had the energy domes in, and I was kind of like, oh yeah, it's interesting, I like it. And then just on a whim, let's throw the ultralights in there just because I think the blue and gold will look cool together. And I haven't been able to take them out actually. I did end up getting some blue spikes because I wanted to see how that played, and it was just a little too heavy for me. I feel like with the ultralights, this thing plays absolutely perfectly for me. And as for cons of the Benchmark H, I've mentioned this in all the other Benchmark reviews, but the side effects are going to mean that you need to tune a little bit more. That said, I haven't found that I needed to tune the H very much. This thing feels pretty smooth from the get-go, and anytime I've taken it apart, I really haven't had a big problem with smoothness. And our last segment of the show today, who's the Benchmark H for? I feel like the Benchmark H is a really strong entry in the Benchmark series. The O is comfortable, the V is really uniquely shaped, the W is great for competition. The H kind of goes with a tried and true shape for yo-yos, you know, one that is really popular these days, one that just performs well. It puts one drop spin on it, lets you put the side effects in. So I think the Benchmark H is for someone who wants a one drop, wants side effects, and wants like a shape that they know they can rely on. I feel like this would be a really good learning yo-yo for the one drop series. It's not that expensive, but you also get a very solid, stable shape that spins long enough for you to get through difficult tricks. And throw some ultralights in there, man. This thing just hauls. That's gonna be it for the review today. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked the video. Please leave a thumbs up for me. Our channel's getting much bigger now. I think we're just about to pass 600, so the more thumbs up we get, the more people will see the channel. We can make this thing bigger, keep doing more stuff. It'll be really fun, I hope. It'll be fun, I promise. I don't know when it's going to come up, but now that I've done all 4 of the Benchmark shapes, we're going to have our time on coming up. So I'll compare all 4 of the One Drop 2016 benchmarks together, and we'll see which one I think holds up the best. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching. Take care. Sorry about all the cicadas, it's summer. Have a nice day, and sayonara.